Hey, what's up? It's Frankie here. In this video, by the way, I'm going to show you guys something incredibly cool, which is how to get the really big clients in your agency. I'm talking the people who are 5 grand, 10 grand, 20 grand, 30 grand, sometimes more, every single month. And kind of how do you get those big fish? I'm down here in the water in Saarbrücken, Germany. There's some beach volleyball, and my littlest Heidi B is right there. So most people don't realize this, but when I was a little kid, I went fishing with my dad. I didn't see my dad too much. He was kind of an alcoholic. He was a fun party dad, but I only saw him like once every 6 months. And one of my favorite memories together is we actually went fishing. And when I went fishing with my dad, it was us, my brother, me, and a couple of drunken friends, and my dad in a little tiny fishing boat. And I remember, I think 6 of those people had the same experiences, which they didn't catch any fish. It's pretty much a wasted day. And me, the dumb kid over here, I caught like 7 or 8 fish. And one might call that beginner's luck. But in actuality, we had a little moment before. We were at the general store. That's the only thing they had in this little tiny area. And there was a bait shop. How do you want to rutschen? How to make a kid's day 101. We're going to go on a slide here. It's a little bit of a death trap, this fucking slide. My daddy parenting stuff. So, and at this bait shop, they asked me, my little kid brain, do you want the worms? And I said, well, what's that other bait over there? And it was just something different. I just wanted something different. Turned out, because I used a different bait, there were 6 different kinds of worms in the water, and I used some kind of special worm. I don't know, I couldn't even tell you. I'm not a fishing guy, and I was a young kid. But nonetheless, I caught 7 different fish. And most people don't realize this, but they're fishing with broke people bait. And then they don't understand why broke clients show up. When they say things like, are you struggling to get clients? Do you need clients? Do you need more clients? Well, if you use a word like need, you're going to attract somebody who's desperate. Or I'll see things like affordable. We just went rutschen. Rutschen is a German word for slide. Affordable SEO services. And kind of cliches like that. And it's very, very interesting because the higher end of the market, by the way, is not scrolling Facebook ads looking for a 45-minute webinar to watch. They're far, far too busy for that. So one of the things that'll help you is using a bait that, for lack of a better term, just gets right to the fucking point. Like, very direct offer, here's what I can do for you. And I'll tell you, the biggest thing you can do with your bait is understanding big people problems better. So I'll give you an example in the legal space, which is one I'm very well versed in, one of the niches that I do a lot of work in. And one of the things that happens in the legal space is there is a number 1 lawyer who is on every TV commercial. He's on the radio. So on every billboard you pass on the street, you'll see his face on a bus stop. You'll see him painted on the side of a taxi. And you just can't avoid that motherfucker, right? He's just everywhere. And almost always, that guy wants to be, put some distance between him and number 2, or there's somebody like him who's number 2 and wants to be number 1. And those people who are working on those big kind of problems, like how can I beat the number 1 guy in my space? Those are the kind of things they're interested in. And if you use that kind of bait that says, hey, do you want to be number 1 or beat number 2? You're going to attract a very different kind of fish. That kind of person is not looking around going affordable SEO service. In fact, I was actually once in a mastermind of I would say probably about 40% of the top lawyers in the world, and listening to their private conversations. And I remember watching how they spent $100,000 without giving it much thought. And one of the conversations was, who's the best person you know for blank? I don't actually remember what blank was, by the way. But I do remember that they immediately just gave $100,000 to that person without thinking much about it, because that was the most recommended name. So that's another thing to understand, is that in the top highest end of the market, they're having conversations, and you need to put yourself in there, whether it's, obviously if it's available at the time to like pay your way in the door, or to network with the people who run the damn thing and figure out how you can add value into their lives. But the biggest thing that'll help you get those big fish is to get away from the we do cheap, affordable, generic SEO for anyone and start to specialize in those really high-end problems. Because even though your solution is the same, the perception of what you're doing and why you're doing it is completely different. So I may go to like a really big shot lawyer that's on every billboard, and this actually happened to me. There's a lawyer on Jacksonville who's like a celebrity, and I remember just showing him, hey, like, you're kicking ass everywhere, but I don't know if you know this, but you're number 12 in SEO. And he was like, what? I'm not number one. Well, get in here and let me pay you money so I can be number one. And nobody had ever just like broke it down how he was doing in all facets of his marketing, his radio, his billboards, and all those things. And it took me probably, a good 20 minutes to prepare it. But that's how I landed a big fish, just being prepared, showing them I understood them, their market, what they were trying to do, and here's where you're actually at. And when they understood, hey, there's a problem, which I didn't even have to tell them, I just showed them, here's the data, they made the decision themselves. So I hope that shed some light for you guys on getting like bigger clients, not just clients who are like, I'll pay you $400, but man, this better work. Because, we've all probably, if you've done this long enough, had that broke client who it's never fast enough, never good enough, never quality enough, never works. And helping you guys get some of like the big fish where, you can make more than most people do in a year just having one client. In fact, that client I mentioned in Jacksonville was paying $10,000 a month for their SEO. Shitty SEO, I might add, for about 7 years, which means they've paid over almost $1 million to that company. That's one client, $1 million client, paid out over 7 years. Heidi B's loving the Rucha. Heidi B, I'm going to say, cheers.
Cheers.
All right, there you have it.